Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on a Sunday morning. I'm Vijay Mathur, and I'm the co-founder of BIGGR Financial. At BIGGR, we are building a platform for you to seamlessly hire and work with a SEBI-registered investment advisor for your investment management and financial planning needs by paying the hourly rates of the financial advisors. The Indian laws, only SEBI-registered investment advisors are authorized to provide you unbiased, personalized, and commission-free advice. So do check out our platform, which is www.biggerfin.com. All right. So moving to today's webinar topic, which is very much close to me as well, as I have a 3-year-old son, and I always wonder how much it will cost me to send him to a higher college, and what will be the fee and the other expenses that I have to bear for doing that, considering that already the cost of higher education is quite high in India as well as abroad. So the questions that always keep coming to my mind are where I should invest on a regular basis, which assets I should invest so that I have a good amount of saving in order to send him to the college of his dream. So for this, I have to start planning from today, is the realization. But to answer all such queries, we have Mr. Krishna today. Krishna is an MBA from IIM Indore and a SEBI registered investment advisor himself. In fact, he is one of the first advisors to be registered from the state of Bhubaneswar. Odisha, sorry, from the city of Bhubaneswar. And during his illustrious career of 8+ years, Krishna has helped numerous families and individuals in their financial planning needs. So welcome, Krishna, to the webinar today. All right, before I hand it over to Krishna, I have a small poll to run so that we can understand the mix of the audience. So I'll just open the poll and take 15 seconds to read the question and the answers and to give your opinion. So yeah, the poll should be on your screen. All right. I'll just publish the results now. The results will be on your screen. Krishna, I'll hand it over to you, and the stage is all yours. So yeah, Krishna, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, BIGGR. Thank you very much, Vijit, for this platform. You guys are doing a great job in trying to educate the Indian public in terms of financial planning and helping us reach customers. So thank you very much. So as I said, results for the financial investments for, or the poll results for the first question, that how are you planning to cover your children's education? 66% have replied saying that they are investing in financial products, which is very good. And 33%, which is pretty significant, have said that they're not. So let's look at some of the key simple strategies of how to invest, how to look at. And it's a very interesting topic. All right. So the first thing that we need to understand is that children's education in India, why it is very critical. So education is one of the recession-proof business, if you see it in one way. So whether there is recession or whether there is chaos in the world, education is something mandatory. And therefore, it is associated with higher inflation costs. So the cost of education in India traditionally and typically has been low, especially for primary education. And this is one thing that is very, very important and a very big differentiating factor between India and the Western world. And one more important point, which is taking a big cultural shift, as we term it, is that in the past, families or people would have their children at the age of 20s or early 30s. But right now, what is happening is that because of the kind of jobs, because of the kind of the opportunities people get at younger ages, the family is being created towards the mid 30s and even early 40s, which is a major cultural shift. So essentially, what is important over here in this cultural shift is that your children may be 20s and 30s and you may have already retired, which probably in the um, you know in the people who were born in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s would have seen a very different pattern. So therefore, investing for children's education is very critical in these times. So when we talk about education, we need to
So
also
Krishna,
understand.
we have a poll here.
Oh yes, we have a poll here. Yeah.
So I'll quickly open the second poll for the audience. Okay, the poll should be there on the screen. Please vote.
For those of you got a sneak peek, okay, it's fine.
All right, the last 5 seconds. I hope everyone has voted. I'll publish the result. Yeah, Krishna, you can continue.
Great. So so we have quite a lot of folks who are talking about the right amount of money, because we now know perhaps what is a cost of say an MBA, cost of post graduation. We have got 2 crores, 1.5 crores for 18 months MBA after 10 years, 25 lakhs for the graduation courses. Yep, that's all right. So let's look at the journey of somebody who's born and to the post graduation time. So we're looking at something around birth. So when you are literally born, the expenses are at least something around 75,000, nothing less than that. Actually, 75,000 is very less. In fact, my sister-in-law just 2 days back gave birth to a baby boy, and the bill came to 2 lakhs. Okay, so I'm just putting 75,000 over here. Preschool, approximately, it's going to be 5 lakhs. So you see the numbers over there. So in all, if you sum it up, you're looking at around 2.5 crores of future costs, right? You just have to just sum it up. So we're looking anywhere from 2 to 3 crores as an expense right from birth to post graduation. Now this is the number, and if you look at the next question that typically people have is, how do we try to solve these expenses? So all these are the the thumb rule ways of solving your problems. These are not something which is I would say financial advice. Things can be different, but overall, if you ask somebody, or if somebody asks me, if you're looking at birth related and the birth and the next steps, it is of course a no-brainer. It is your corporate or a medical policy. So if you do not have a medical policy that has maternity covered in it, please ensure that it has covered, because the maternity costs are also becoming very, very high. Then you have typical goals like vaccination, birthday parties, your primary school education, which is something that you have to fund immediately in the next 2 to 5 years. A lot of people get confused and should I put in some complex funds and all. No, it's very simple. Just pay it by your monthly salary income, or at best put, if you get some sort of a large amount of money, put it in an FD, which will be able to solve your purposes in the near term. And if you're looking at high school, assuming that your child is young, you have time. So it's all about equity and the time that you have. So high school education, graduation, and post-graduation is all investments based on your time frame. So how much of equity you want to go, whether you want to go aggressive, you want to go a little conservative, it depends on time frame, and it also depends on your personal risk profile. Now, this is the expenses how you want to achieve your goals. Now, if somebody
A
asks
quick
me
poll,
about the
sorry,
investments,
Krishna, again.
oh, sorry,
Quick poll.
we have a
Yeah,
we have a poll over here again.
Yes, I'll open the next poll there. It should be on everyone's screen now. So people do vote. Right. I think everyone has voted. I'll publish the results now. Yeah,
Great. So the poll,
confident.
are we done with the poll? Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question was, what are your biggest worries in saving for your child's education? So yeah, so we have not saving enough money, determining the required amount, right? So determining the right amount, and which is something which is the most challenging part. Not saving enough money, yes, which is something that everybody fears. That is correct. Time horizon too short, and not having stable income. So we have also around 16% saying that not having stable income. Right? Okay. So let's look at some of the, or let us, look at investment in a very simple thumb rule. While there may be complexities involved in determining what kind of investment, what kind of strategy that you need to deploy based on your financial risk profiling. But if somebody asks from a webinar, from a basic education point of view, we need to have a very simple thumb rule. And so that investment strategy is nothing but, if you put it in a quadrant, you have your age and your child's age. And assuming that we are taking a population which is, like kind of looking at something like, you are already at 40s, which means from 20 to 40, you are in an earning stage, 40 to 60, assuming that you are going to work till 60, going to have some sort of stable income, and your children's age. So if you look at this, 4x4 metrics, this will help you in determining what kind of strategy, investment strategy you should have. So if you are young, so the first quadrant that you see in green color, if you are young and if your children are young as in typically less than 40, you could really go aggressive. You could go aggressive. Okay. If your children are young and if you are have crossed 40s, you could still take an aggressive theme. Nothing wrong in that, assuming that your income is going to be steady until the age of 60, right? But there is one more additional product that is mandatory over there. It is a financial product which is mandatory. All right. Now, if you look at your children's age, which is probably 10 plus years, right? And if you are young, which is actually a very special case, you could probably look at FDs and debt funds. If you are a little older and your children are also older, you could look at conservative hybrid fund or even equities, but also have that kind of fixed deposits, have that FDs to ensure that any sort of economic cycle down things or black swan events like COVID are also taken care of, because you don't want to, always kind of have a recency bias saying that, the markets fell down in COVID and they sharply recovered. It could be possible that markets may fall down and take 5 years also to recover. So always have a good combination of hybrid and FD if you are crossed 40 and your children have typically grown beyond 10 years old. So now there is another question over here, is that if you are across the age of 40, what is that question mark? Like, what is that typical financial product that you must have?
I'll open that poll as well. So we are talking about the question mark in the slide, which is in the pink quadrant. Okay, the poll must be there on the screen. I see people still voting.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see the live polls, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right. I think people have voted, so I'll publish the result.
Yep, sure. So interestingly, I have 50% direct equities and 50% term insurance. Okay, so I would suggest that those who have voted direct equities, please look at the 4x4. We already are in equities. Okay, we are already in equities. Okay, so obviously direct equities is not a choice because you're not going for the diversification of a portfolio. It is term insurance, because no matter what you have done in your past, that is past as in prior to your 40s, moment you have crossed your 40s, right, you have to have term insurance to ensure that if anything happens to you, your liabilities are taken care of. This is not to suggest that before 40 you should not have term insurance. Yes, good to have term insurance, right? But if after 40s or even mid 30s, you should have term insurance, right? So the question mark over there is your investment strategy. Now, when I say investment, please do not look at term insurance as an investment, but that's a financial product to ensure that any shocks are absorbed. Move on. Now let's look at the rationale behind, or the rationale behind this quadrant. Okay, it's a very simple thing. So as your children are elder, right, your financial needs are immediate and hence have to be in relatively safer instruments such as fixed deposits, government bonds, or PSU bonds, or even debt funds also. But there are certain challenges in some of the debt funds. Not all debt funds are safe. And the other way to look out at this, I mean, how this 4x4 matrix was created is that if you are crossing 40s, right, you should have term insurance, but again, you will also have time to invest in equities. A lot of people mistake or create a mistake that once they cross 40s or 45, they think that no, we should only have in safer instruments, right? That is not correct. If your earning capability is extended till the age of 60, then you have enough time to invest in equities and take care of all the shocks and COVIDs and Iraq wars and 911s that have happened in the past. Let's take a look at some of the cases. Okay? Case 1, young and not married. Now, remember this, young and not married, and I'm talking about children's plan. And this I put as case number 1. So here's a case, I'm just putting something over here. 28-year-old marketing consultant making 32 lakhs a year. Or it could be a product manager in a startup, which has good funds even now. So what should that individual do? Obviously, if he never have any plan to get married, that's a different thing. But I'm talking about a normal scenario over here, or typical scenario, not normal scenario, typical scenario. Approximately 20,000 per month in SIP. If that is invested, it's going to take a lot of burden away when the child is even in the primary schools. Okay, so what the individual should do? Be aggressive. In most of my cases, when young folks are coming to me, they're talking about startups, this and all that. I also put a bucket for children, and they say, I'm not yet married. But I say, no, you need to have that. Put around 15 to 25,000, just like that, saying it's children's fund. This is very important because the cost of education and the stability of jobs now in the Indian market is also not a constant factor, right? So, and now we take a case 2, which is 2A. We'll come to the 2B. So this is mid 40s. So we have a mid 40-year-old IT project manager making something around 26 lakhs a year, right? So what should be the case? Or what should be the investment strategy? Typically, again, this is thumb rules, right? About 30,000 rupees per month for 12 years is what is the typical amount, expecting around 12% per annum. annual returns, right? We have to look at a target of around 85 lakhs or 1 CR, and obviously a term insurance to cover the expenses, which is typically 1 CR. So term insurance over here, 1 CR is only focused on the education and the children's financial growth factor, not looking at the retirement and other liabilities that the individual may have, such as housing loan, etc. So the total term insurance that somebody should have is education plus all the other liabilities. And we are not talking about all the other liabilities in this session over here. So, but still, it's the overall theme should be aggressive theme, equities. So it could be direct equities if the individual is consulting a SEBI RIA, or even if consulting SEBI RIA in your mutual funds. Now let's take the case of somebody in the mid 40s and children are elder, or children have grown up, right? So then the strategy should be about putting money more in secure instruments such as FDs, and also have something around 25 to 40%, still 25 to 40%. I've given an average over there as 30% in equity based products. Additionally, the term insurance should be around 50L or so, or perhaps even more than that, depending on the goals and the liabilities. Remember that there is no one size fit all solution. It's all custom. Financial planning is, that's why we say personal financial planning. It's very personalized. All these are thumb rules. All these are tips. There are a lot of factors. These are some of the key factors that we take. With this, we come to the end of the webinar, and we are open for questions.
Thank you, Krishna. That was really very insightful. You have summarized and it really very well, quite beautifully put in pictorial way. So people do put your questions in the Q&A section, and we will pick them up one by one. All right. The first one that we have is, can we consider a scenario for mid-30s IT manager with 2 kids earning roughly around 24 lakhs per annum? What would be that scenario, and where do you suggest on a high level?
Yeah, so if you go back and look at a quadrant, right? So you're looking at mid-30s and kids. Again, if you look at a quadrant, how to read that quadrant is your age and the kid's age. Now, this is just looking at age as one of the parameters to read, to find the investment strategies. But this is not the only parameter that we use for investment. If you look at a scenario, if somebody just asks me that mid-30s, 2 kids, I'm assuming the 2 kids are less than 10 years old, please be very aggressive on equities. That is index funds. That could be your Sensex Nifty index funds and your Nifty 150 kind of index funds. Just ensure that you are following systematic investment plan in these funds, right? So it could be index funds, ETF. That topic is for a separate discussion. That is only for PhD level topics, as what you can make from an extra 0.01%, etc. But please be regular in investment. But much of your investment, at least around 20 to 30,000, I would say, ballpark number, should be in SIPs, in equities.
Thanks, Krishna, for that. So the theme is, if in mid-30s also, when children are still young, equities should be the theme, or rather, you should be aggressive in your approach for saving for your children. Okay. Krishna, there is one more question which often comes to us, and which is people having a fear of the mistakes that they usually do when saving, right? So what are some of the common mistakes which people should avoid when investing for children's education particularly?
So mistake number 1 is that not saving enough, and we saw that in the poll. Okay, so not saving enough and not even recognizing that education costs will be very high. So ultimately it leads to taking loans during when you go for a post graduation or even graduation. Example, my own case, I often tell to most of my clients that my father did have back in the 90s the capacity to pay 500 or 1000 rupees per month to put it in an SIP. He did not. So when I did my MBA, I had to take a loan, and I had to take a hefty loan, and had around 4 or 5 years just paying off my education loan. So if I go back to the 90s and say 500,000 rupees, if my father had invested, instead of an MBA in India, I might have even gone to the US also. But then that's kind of the story. I just want to focus that those 500 and thousands of 1990s are now translated into 15,000 and 20,000s of 2020s. So please do not neglect your children's education investment in equities. A lot of people just put it in FD. Yes, I mean, I'm not saying that FD is bad, good, or something, depending on the situation. If your goals are immediate, FD is one of the safest option. But people just put it in FD and think that, okay, it is very safe, right? So not saving enough and not looking at equities as a means of achieving your financial goals, especially for children's education.
All right, thanks for that, Krishna. Definitely feel that people don't invest enough on a month-on-month or a regular basis, because this is still a very long-term, and people don't start investing early. All right, let's move to the next one. We have one more question. Is it possible to invest in foreign currency, considering that kids may go out for education? So I think the question is about international investment and making investments in some other currency for the children who will or parents who will aim for higher education outside India.
Yeah, that's good. So see, if you are earning in dollars, invest in dollars. If you're earning in euros, invest in euros or dollars. But you want to use rupees, convert it into dollars, and expect a dollar to go up. That is something that is a very risky thing, right? So it's not that the Indian economy is not going to grow. You can do a lots of calculation and then find out what is going to happen. So see, we also need to understand that in the entire world, as you see in all the financial education blogs or even financial influencers giving those nice posts, right? The one economy that is expected to grow in the next 5, 10, 15 years is India. There's no doubt about it. There's also a recent poll that said that India is not even going to see recession in this years or in the next few years, right? So when you are in India, you are investing in India. Don't complicate your investment by converting rupees to dollars and then assuming that the dollar will be able to save or meet your financial goals. It ultimately boils down to a few extra rupees, I would say, with a lot more headache. So yes, if you are somewhere outside India, you are outside India in dollars. Definitely yes, invest in S&P using dollars. Invest in India also, right? You have India ETFs, India funds also. Invest in India, but don't complicate your financial portfolio by doing cross-border transactions unless you are a special case. You are a UHNI and all that and want to invest in some Antigua or Maldives and all that. For typical folks earning in India, please ensure that your financial portfolio is simple.
Yes, that's a good advice. When we talk of simple investment, then fixed income comes to the mind, right? You have already mentioned putting aside some amount in FDs. But then there is also another category which is debt mutual funds. And recently there has been a lot of discussion because of the recent regulatory and not regulatory but taxation related changes in this category. So what is your opinion? Is debt mutual fund as a category also should be considered for saving for our children's education?
Right. So yes, it still holds true. Okay. So we are just looking at the benefit of indexation and all going out. So right now, we still have not have got very great clarity on, what is the difference between a debt and an FD. Typically, in the past also, debt and FD, if you see the returns, more or less, there was almost similar returns post taxation, right? Now also it's going to be more or less the same. So the debt part is, when you're talking about debt funds, we also have to look at some of those debt funds, or at least now in the high interest regime rates, lock into certain of the long-term funds which can give you a little better or more returns. So that is where the debt fund comes into picture. Otherwise, debt fund as a place to park your money for the next 1, 2, 3 years, still remains the same. So we should not get into too much of arithmetics right now. Let's just look at the product, your goal, your fitment to that product, and then debt funds are still valid.
Right. Thank you. We're almost on time, but I'll take one more, which has been asked by Ankit. What should we be cautious about when buying any children education plan? There are a lot of children education plans in the market, primarily by insurance companies also. What should be the consideration, and what should we be cautious about when considering such plans?
Right. So the one the one advice that when I do financial planning for clients is that your entire financial plan should be flexible. That is, depending on your life situation, life challenges and all, your contribution to your plans also should be slightly flexible. The challenge, or I'll come to what I mean. See, the challenge when it comes to these child plans, etc., is that it's usually always a fixed kind of a investment, which is the premiums that you have to pay, and in return there are some insurance coverages. So it is as good as getting into mixing up two financial products which are typically different. Okay, so in real life, we all know that when you mix two things, you typically don't get the advantages of both. You get the disadvantage. The advantages get summed up, the disadvantages get multiplied. So this is how you have to always remember. So when you mix insurance and investments into a bucket called child plan, you may get some additional benefit, but the disadvantages increases. So in case of sudden job loss, you still are forced to pay that premium. Okay? And the returns are also not flexible. For example, suddenly, you are investing for your children. Your child at 6th standard writes some essay competition and gets to go to Singapore. So can you immediately fund that? Can you immediately stop a child plan? No, you can't. Right? So never mix two financial products: equities, debt, insurance.
Got it. I think that's very useful advice for the audience, that don't mix your investments and other financial products to mitigate your risk, like, for example, insurance. So, all right, I think we are slightly over time, Krishna. So I'll do apologize to the attendees about that, but it was really very useful, and people getting their questions answered was also, I think, hopefully useful for everyone. So thank you, Krishna, for your time today, and I hope everyone had a good learning about the savings for their children, particularly because that's a topic which is quite close to almost everyone who has children. So thank you everyone for joining in. We do hope to see you in our next webinar, which will be conducted mostly in a few weeks' time. So do check out our LinkedIn. Do follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for further updates about our upcoming events. So thank you everyone. Thank you for your time. Have a good Sunday and a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for your time.